Let's start the podcast.
I could put you in the brig for what you've done, but I won't do it.
What the hell's going on out here?
I want to do comedy in my backyard and go back in the house.
Yeah, but you've been doing it in your backyard for so many decades.
I know. That's what I like.
You're a bloody creature of habit. You're a Romas. What do you want to be in
That's
the
right.
same thing peddling over and over again? You got to break it out and get some more experience. That was Irish, Scottish, and British English.
That was brutal, to be honest. It was really not good.
Hey, we didn't even start yet.
Start the pod. You do it. Kick it off.
I'm going to kick off the pod, mate. 2 hours, one pod. We're a spinoff from the web series, The Two Dicks. We were formerly the Talking Dicks comedy podcast. We had to change our name because of the word dicks. They kept pulling us down. And we had to explain what we were and that the dicks were detectives from the 1950s. And it was a spinoff from our web series, Politically Incorrect Detectives from the 1950s. Come on, that is gold. And now we're down to Two Hals, One Pod podcast, because it's very rare for comedians to have a podcast these days. Anyways, I'm Al Ducharme. I didn't introduce you yet. You're not allowed to silence.
Silence!
Oh, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, frightening him like that when he came to you for help.
Silence, whippersnapper!
I'm Al Ducharme. I'm on a cruise ship. Woohoo! And I'm anchored in Costa Maya, Mexico. And this is the MSC Seashore. And my partner, Al Romas, is on the Icon of the Seas, the flagship for another month, Royal Caribbean's flagship. How are you, Al? What's going on? What's happening there?
All good at sea today. We're at sea. Tomorrow's Coco Cay, and then done. And I leave, go home. It's a 1 weeker.
Oh, this is a 1 weeker, not that
usually
you should do the two, yeah?
Yeah. I got the week. Then I got a week home because I'm going off to Spain. So it would have been like 3 weeks in a row had I kept that. So they were like, here, do a week, have 6 off, and then head out to Spain to do the Oasis in Barcelona during the Formula One race.
I just want to I'm trying to cross the street. I just want to get something to eat.
That should be a fun day. Need a taxi during an F1 race to get to the ship from the hotel. It's gonna, out of all the days, 365 days in a year, and we're going to be in Barcelona the day of Formula One.
For the fuck one.
So
F1.
And that's why I'm in a hotel in the middle of nowhere or down at the end of nowhere, because all the hotels, everything's booked.
It's been booked for 2 years.
It's been booked. So I got a hotel, but it's at the end of a road that's nowhere near anything, and airport hotel, but not really at the airport. One of those deals.
Senor, perhaps you have some extra euros you would like to donate to my wife in my keys.
That sounds like Mexico. That sounds like Cozumel.
I don't know the accent for
that's not Spain.
I don't know the Spaniards.
You're a man of voices. You're a voice man.
I'm limited. Oh,
limited voice man.
The man of 6 voices.
Well, that would be honest for any impressionist. Let's be honest. These men of 1,000 voices.
I said that we had Bill Burr on about 1.5 years ago, and that was what I said. He said he hired me because I was the man of 1,000 voices. I go, come on, it's 6 voices. I have 6 voices.
And I think that's pushing it. A bit.
Some of them are hybrids.
You had your voice, and what else you got?
That's
not much. Yeah. How are the shows there? You've got, what are we doing? Like, I'm doing shows 6 nights a week, 2 shows a night, 3 shows a night. What do we got over there as a schedule?
Well, it's the complete opposite of what I was told. I was told that I had to do 1.5 to 2 hours of different material, and I would be doing multiple shows. So far it's turned into a kind of like a regular normal cruise that's not a comedy club. I did 2 family shows, 7:30, 9:30. They were packed, 1,000 seaters.
Wow. Well received.
Well received. I was based on what my two shows were right now. I'm thinking, okay, I'll be getting a ton of offers, but I have another show, an adult show. It's going to be at 10:30. It isn't scheduled yet, so it's either going to be tomorrow night or the last night of the cruise. Now, what would you want to do? Would you want to do tomorrow night in Cousin Mel, or would you rather do a sea day on the last night of the cruise? What's your choice?
I mean, the Cozumel thing, that's just an old myth. Everyone's drunk. Don't work Cozumel night. That's not the real deal.
That would be me.
I would
I
rather
like
do it
that's
tomorrow
my
night.
that's usually my day off, and because Cozumel is one of my favorite of the Mexican ports, and I have all my places that I go, and I do this like 2.5 mile walk. I down some bottled water, and then I have a margarita, and then I have lunch, and then I have a beer, and then I walk back.
Yeah,
and
What's the
cigar,
problem with that?
and a cigar.
I've gone out with Kelly's cousins and drank 10 margaritas and do 3 shows that night. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. You can do it. But I would rather work that night because the last night, they're packing, they're going to bed. It's different.
Tons
it's a
of
little
families
different. You
on
won't
this
get
one.
the same crowd.
Tons of families.
Yeah. Tons of family. Well, late night comedy.
The last month,
Well,
I've been working a lot of ships where there's it seems like it's the middle of the summer. Are people pulling their kids out of school for a week or two early?
I would say yes. This ship is the most kids you're ever going to see on a ship. I mean, it was built for families. It's all about families. The kids are here. Our front row the other night, they say they were 18. I'm serious, they looked like they were 12. The whole front row looked like 12-year-olds, but they were 18. But 18 is very young. You know what I mean?
Relatable wise, yeah.
It's very young, and I just asked them how many times they jerked off today, and made fun of them, and that was it. I mean, what can you do?
I'm sorry, I kind of do a similar thing.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm not as crass as you are. I lighten it up.
Yeah, really.
I'll just
how do you describe jerking off?
I'll just say, how many times you stroke it, or did you, when's the last time you stroked it? Something like that.
Oh, jeez.
Very. Well, I'm not as crass as you are. How many times you jerked off?
What are you, a dad?
You blow a load on your pillow? I don't do that shit. That's your.
What are you, your Ward Cleaver asking the beaver how many times he stroked it last night?
First of all, the beaver has a totally different meaning these days.
Well, wasn't that an old bit or a joke? The dirtiest thing said on television was, Mrs. Cleaver, Ward, you were a little hard on the beaver last night.
I remember that.
There you go. That was somebody's
again,
joke.
Someone's joke, and then all of a sudden 12, 15 comedians are doing it. And then these comedians are doing it 20, 30 years later. That's when it goes from stock line to hack line.
I would say it's in the stock library now. I don't think it's hack because not enough people do it, but it's stock. You can go there and take it off the shelf and use it if you like, and just return it. The stock library is always available for comics in trouble. We've all been there when you're bombing and you look at the watch and go, holy shit, I got another 10. What the fuck? And go to the stock library and help yourself to something.
I'm not a stranger. Well, I haven't done it in a while, but I've visited that closet before.
Hell yeah.
You wouldn't believe who was in
that closet. I saw you come out. I saw
you come right out of the same joke.
Of course. Well, it's fucking obvious. It wasn't any brilliance here. Please,
people aren't tuning in here to learn comedy.
No. I was working last night, and the other comic Simeon asked me about one of my bits, an old bit. He goes, "Do you do that anymore?" I go, "No, it's done. Fucking gone." And he goes, "Oh, maybe I'll do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow night if you don't mind." I said, "Great. I'd love to hear it delivered again." But I haven't done it in a year and a half or something. So I really don't even. I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember every line. But he says he knows it, and he's gonna whip it out tonight, if you will.
Oh, so that's very generous.
That'll be interesting to see. Oh, I don't do the bit. I don't. You ever do a bit where you know it's over? Like as you're doing it, your head's like, I can't say this again.
Yes,
I can't say this again. And that was it. And it's a bit that works, and it's 2.5 minutes,
And
at
you're
least,
in it.
and
You're in it.
I can't do it anymore. So it sucks because you need it sometimes, but I just can't. I have to
With
say
that,
goodbye to it.
yeah. With that said, I've also put it on the shelf, and then some years later, one night it just
Mm,
comes out. I whip it out.
mm,
It's like an arrow in my quiver, and I'm like, well, this is not working. All of a sudden, I do it, and it's new life. It's all of a sudden it's
mm.
working, and it's hitting,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what was that? Because when I was doing it, it was before its time, or I'm just doing it differently now. How does the mind work? Where it seemed
Well, I
like
think I think if you do an old bit and new, it kind of has that excitement of a new bit again. So you deliver it better because you're kind of excited that it's. But you know what I mean? When it's something every night, it just and you're not that big a fan of it, the interest level drops off on delivering it too.
Mm.
It's like the last time I did this joke, and I've told this story on the podcast, I fucked it up. And then the ending didn't make any sense. And luckily a guy was in the audience. He had been to the first show and he fucking saved me. He told me how it ends. And I was like, oh, thank you. And at that point I knew like I can't do this bit. Like I had no interest in the bit. I had no interest. I wasn't even listening to myself. It was
I
autopilot.
remember
And
that. It was the
yeah,
audience member had seen you do the bit before.
right.
I don't know the
He was at the first
circumstances.
show and he
for
came
us.
back for
Okay.
the second show and sat in the front. And then when I did the joke and it didn't get a laugh, and then I was confused. I was like, "What's going on here?" And he's like, "You didn't mention the headlight." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, thank you, sir." He saved my ass. But it had lines in it like about going to fixing or building something in shop, a napkin holder that looks like a leaf. And I would see the audience as they're getting younger. I would see people look at each other like, what does that mean? Like there are kids who don't know what that means. Now, if you were my age, you went to shop class in seventh grade and you made a napkin holder, and usually it looked like a leaf. That was the shape of them, that kind of thing. But I don't think they have shop
I don't
anymore,
think
or they're
so.
not making napkin holders, and
Nope,
so I
it's
don't
all
like
made in
doing a bit
China.
where,
China.
yeah, I don't want to do a bit where people are looking at each other. It becomes that then you're that old man, kind of that remember when comedy. Wasn't it better when we were young? Wasn't it better? We had toys that could kill you. Big, darts on the lawn. They could kill you. That was good times. Beat your kids. Those are good times.
And that's
You know,
when
I
you
mean, that
start
kind of
flying to Buenos Aires.
thing. You should just go fly, into the fucking mountains.
The
Um,
Andes Mountain.
but that, but that's,
Mountains?
yeah. Did you ever see that movie where they all have to? I think it's called Alive.
Alive.
Wasn't it
I read the
yeah.
book in high school, and then they
Oh,
made a television movie, wasn't it? Television?
it was a TV movie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they had to survive. They had to eat. The other was it a soccer team?
It was a
Am I-
soccer team, and they had to resort to cannibalism to survive.
Mm,
So
wow. Could you? I don't know. Probably. Got to do what you
I
got to do.
mean, I would certainly, if I was up there with you, I'd be like watching you like a hawk.
That's that's a uncomfortable feeling. I got to be honest.
Dude, I told you I'm going to the
Wow.
bathroom. Why are you standing behind me with a board?
The hell. Yeah. But yeah, that was it was weird that was like the 70s. It was strange how they made like cool TV movies back then. Like you would never make a movie, we'd never get that now. But you made a movie about cannibalism and it was on ABC at 9 o'clock for the family
I
to
remember,
watch. It was
I think it was John Drew. He was reading the book. And I go, what are you reading? He goes, it's called Alive. Where these soccer team, they had to eat dead people when their plane crashed in the Andes Mountains. I'm like, I got to read that. So when he was done, he gave it to me and I read it. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to read the part about somebody eating their friend to survive.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sick. That's like Jeffrey
But
Dahmer shit.
But I mean, can you imagine like ABC put that movie
I
on
know.
at 9 p.m. on a Friday night?
Huge ratings. Huge ratings.
Huge. Yeah, they had. Remember the one that was about the end of the world, the bomb. I forget what it was called, and everybody watched it. 1980 or 79 or whatever it was. What was? Do you remember that one? It was a big event. It was about the end of the world, and the bomb goes off.
Really?
I can't remember that. Yeah, I was a kid, but it was like scary shit. And you go, "This is television," and But that's all we had. Either the movie theater or the TV. There was no streaming, no nothing. So if you wanted to get something made and put it out there, they did it. Where now they would never and never put that on. I don't know what's on TV now anyway. To be honest, like I just did a podcast, a Beatles podcast channel, whatever it is on YouTube, and he was talking about comedy with me, and he goes, "How's it changed?" And he couldn't believe stuff I was telling him. Like I was saying, if I got offered the Tonight Show, kind of blew his mind when I said, right now, I'd rather be on Rogan's podcast than the Tonight Show. And he couldn't believe it. He's not aware of that. And he was just like, "Are you really?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, you do the Tonight Show and it's nice and you can promote it to your friends and family, but it doesn't mean anything.
It's not a
Won't do
deal.
anything
It's,
for you.
Yeah.
No.
It's a feather in the
But if you
cap.
go on Rogan tomorrow, your life's different. It's different. The followers you'll have, the comments, the people, it'll change things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he couldn't believe that. He was still in the, 20 years ago headspace.
I would say the Tonight Show hasn't carried the weight, certainly not the weight it did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But that started to wean like around 2000, maybe 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you got the Tonight Show. That's great. Maybe 2000, maybe up to 2005. But after that, it just meant it's good to have. I got a nice tape. Bookers and clubs are impressed by it. But now it's just like, oh, okay.
No. Nobody's impressed by it. That's the problem. And I think the rise of podcasts, the big podcasts really were hitting and people were following them. They just, and it changed and it's just not a thing anymore. And he was just like, he couldn't believe it. But anyway, that's on Ken Michaels Radio. Ken Michaels Radio on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel called Ken Michaels Radio. Does a lot of really great, if you're into the Beatles, great shows on there. He's had Peter Jackson on.
Wow.
He's had he's had some he's interviewed Ringo. He knows what he's doing. So I did that show, choosing different songs and talking about them, and it was fun. It was a good time. Ken Michaels Radio. Check it out if you're so inclined. And we have questions today, Alfred.
Oh my goodness. Is it time for
questions? Yes, last time we didn't have any. We didn't have any questions, and
we got a nice little clip out of it, though.
Yeah, as long as you get a clip, that's all that matters. Let's be honest. We do this, and then we go get two clips, and and all is good. But we got a couple questions. Let me fire the first one at you. I would have sent these to you, but I just got them recently, and this one. What's this one? Worst. Oh, the worst. Do you have a worst bombing story?
We already did this.
We did this question?
We've answered this question in the past, but I don't know. It could have been like a year and a half ago.
Sorry, K9, whatever. K9 something. K9. I guess.
I've had a couple of them. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been doing this for decades. I've beat the odds.
Well, you've had a couple, all right.
If you've never bombed as a stand-up comedian, then you're not a stand-up comedian. I'm sorry.
100%.
You have to have a taste
1,000%.
of that. And that makes you stronger and work harder, or you quit. So,
but isn't that the weird mentality? Like the average normal person would bomb and quit.
Yep. I'm never doing
it's
that.
It's a weird, what is that is the weirdest thing that makes you go, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do it again. And it's like you were just humiliated beyond humiliation. I'm going to do it again. It makes no sense. But that's when you know who's a comic and who's not. Yeah.
Right. And
But
also,
it's
it can't get
insane.
any worse than that.
Yeah. Well,
Glad I got that one out of the
get
way.
set, buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
But also, the alternative thing is like, well, the challenge to yourself maybe to improve, and the other thing is, what else am I going to do? I know I need to be there. There's something that says I need to be in front of this microphone, in front of a live audience, which is one of the biggest fears in the world. That's one of the biggest fears.
Right.
Standing up and talking in front
Public
of
speaking.
public speaking
Yeah.
in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think Al's frozen here.
Oh, you are
We're having
too.
some issues today,
We
buddy.
are having some issues. You're at sea,
We're having some Wi-Fi. I
and
think it's that MSC.
I'm on
think
an
that
MSC,
MS,
a new cruise line for me, and the software. Zoom just did an update, and you're at sea. So we have like three things. That could be one of them or a combination of all three. But again, I like it when you're frozen and I can't hear you speak. You're silent. Al, can you tell us how to send us a question?
Yes, you can on Instagram. Generally on Instagram, I'll post a picture with a question thing, write in the box a question, and we bring it to the next podcast. And you could always just write a question on the comments under a picture or anything. But Instagram probably the best way
What is
for
our
that.
handle? More importantly, what is our handle?
2 Al's, 1 pod.
The 2 Al's 1
At-
pod on Instagram. Send in your question and don't wait for a question or ask to be asked for a question. Does that make sense? Just ask us a question out
Yes.
of the blue.
Ask us a question, and sometimes like we have this one before, but we'll answer it again. I don't really remember my answer. I think my worst. I don't even know a worst bomb because that's now we're lucky. We'll bomb. It still can bomb. We don't really bomb now. I mean, we have tricks and we can get through it. A real bomb, where I think I did one. I don't know if I mentioned this where I did a corporate early on in New York City, and it was at a steakhouse for these Wall Street douchebags, and they were drinking since like noon, and then I was to perform at like 6 p.m. in the middle on the floor in the middle of the dining room around all these round tables with these
I've
drunken
had this exact
20
same gig more than once, I think.
Yeah, and they brought me, he mentioned my name, I went on, and they didn't even know I was there. This is how drunk they were. They didn't know I was there. They were turning napkins and things into planes. They were flying paper planes around the room.
Yep.
These are fucking Wall Street millionaires. And then the boss said something stupid as a heckle, and they all laughed, and I was like, really? And they go, hey, when the boss says it, it's fucking funny. And I was like, okay. And I started moonwalking out. I just moonwalked out of there. And no, I don't think anyone knew that I even left. And there was a big staircase, and I ran up the staircase, and I was right on the street there in Manhattan. The sun was still out, and I jumped in a taxi, and I just drove away. And a couple of days later, I talked to the agent, and he said, hey, they don't want to pay you because they said you didn't show up. And I go, well, I didn't show up. I was there. I did 10 minutes and it was insane. I couldn't say a word. It was too loud. And he goes, all right, let me check. And then the boss came back to him and was like fairly apologetic, said, hey, we were hammered and we didn't even know he was there. So we'll pay him. We weren't even aware the guy was standing there. And I was 3 years in or 4 years in. I had no skills. I just stood there like an idiot. And when the planes were flying by and they were yelling, I was like, I don't know. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Which now I'd probably do the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
I'd probably walk out anyway and go, fuck you. And this is stupid.
Yeah.
But
if I had handlers, I would say, get my money. That was ridiculous. And I'd move on. I'd move on and not dwell on it and say, hopefully I'll get my money someday. But I had a very similar situation where, one time it went pretty well. But here's one of the worst ones. I was hired to do a bachelor party, and the guys met me a couple of nights before to go over the groom's personal stuff.
A bachelor, not bachelorette, a bachelor party.
A bachelor party.
These guys wanted a male comedian.
They said, we're going to have a stripper and a comedian. I said, well,
Oh,
I don't want to
geez.
follow the stripper. I'll go on first and get out, bring the stripper on. They go,
Right.
okay. So I met with them a few days early. We went over all the points about this guy, what he did for a living, and blah, blah, some personal stuff. And I go, great. We agreed on the amount of money, and off they went. And then I show up at the bachelor party. Round tables, same thing. He goes, this is going to be great. He doesn't know that we have a comedian. Nobody knows we have a comedian except for us two. I'm like, no, no.
Well,
And they
the
told them there
worst
was going to
best
be a
man in the world.
stripper. They told them there was going to
Uh-huh.
be a
Of
stripper, but they didn't
course.
tell there was going to be a comedian. It's just
Right.
the opposite of what you should do. So, same thing. They're like, I think they were throwing airplanes. I remember an airplane and napkins and
hmm
swirling the napkins and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm up there for the fight of my life, and I'm supposed to do a half hour. And then they bring out the stripper. They're playing
Yeah.
poker. Some of them are playing
Yeah.
poker.
It's a no-win. It's a no-win. But at least in your case, I think you have a little better chance than I did. I mean, you can whip out some fart noises, and who doesn't like it? I mean, I don't know. I have nothing. I had nothing. I was talking about my fucking cat and dog or
A
something.
third of the audience had their back because they were round tables. The few tables that were playing poker had no interest in what was going on. And then people
Mhm.
just heckling, where's the stripper? Bring out the stripper. I think I made it to like 17 minutes of my 30 minutes that I was hired for.
Wow,
And then I
that's pretty
said, all
good.
right, you guys got to have the stripper. Yeah. They started cheering that I was leaving. I go, enjoy the rest of your night. Congratulations. And I walked off, and it was like, I was humiliated, obviously, but I wanted to
Yeah.
get my money.
Yeah.
So they had already given me a deposit. So I was here to collect the balance. And it was like, I was humiliated. So the guy goes, hey, come here. I want to talk to you. He goes,
Mm.
come here. So he opens the door of the men's room. He goes, come on in here. And his buddy comes in.
Oh,
And they're
that's
both
gay.
standing. They're standing with their hands on their hips. They go, you didn't do all
Uh-oh.
the time. We're not paying you the full amount.
Right.
I go, you
Okay.
had to take me to the men's room with your buddy
Yeah, this
to say
very
it. I go, well,
homoerotic
how
here.
much do you want to pay? I bailed because you didn't tell them that there was going to be a comedian.
Yeah.
I go, he goes, well, how much should we pay you? And I said, I think you should pay me the full amount because you made a mistake. And then we went back and forth. And then I just shaved off a couple $100, took it cash and walked. But it was just like, really, you're going to two guys with their hands on their hips, like,
Yeah.
we're paying you less. What are you going to do about it?
That's also the lesson of getting paid before those shows.
Full
Any
amount.
corporate type of, you got to get paid. So that way, no matter how it goes, you're not searching around or going into a bathroom with two weirdos. You've already been paid. Because generally, I mean, some work out, but generally they're not great. And you don't want to be standing around at the end looking for the guy who's paying you.
Nothing better than getting a 50% deposit and then the guy handing you either a check or cash before you go on, which is in the agreement.
Yeah, that was the last one I did. And it's been a long time, well, a year. And I got the deposit. And then when I ended, and it wasn't great, but it wasn't my fault. Nobody paid attention. Literally no one. And they were a mile away in the back of the room at the bar. And I was just up there, blah, blah, blah. But when I got done, he just handed me the check. He's like, hey, man, thank you. And so I got paid. And then I was done and flew out of there in the morning. But that's standing around or being, looking for the guy to pay you. That's a tough one, man.
That's that
why.
Jerry Seinfeld story, He
What was that?
He got a corporate gig or something, some local company on Long Island. And the guy's like, I want to meet Jerry Seinfeld. I want to meet Jerry. And he meets with him. And then he's waiting in like the green room, whatever they were using for a green room. And the guy kept coming in. He goes, hey, this is my son. This is my cousin. I want you to meet Jerry Seinfeld. He had just become pretty big, but not gigantic. And so he goes, okay, yeah. He's trying to work on his act, what he's going to do. And he kept coming in and bringing people. So finally he meets them all. And then this guy is up his ass constantly. And then he finishes his set, walks off. Where's the guy? The guy with the check. Where's the guy? He disappeared. The guy disappeared. He had to wait around for another 45 minutes. Like, we just want to leave after a gig, whether it goes well or not. We just want our check
Of course.
to move on.
Yeah. Of course, that's why I like this gig here. There's a green room, and I like the guys I'm working with. And if the show ends, sometimes we're in the green room, we'll hang out and bullshit for a while. And other times, because they're just pros,
Mhm.
other times they might just do their set and then they're out. They're
Mhm.
gone. You don't see them till tomorrow night or whatever. But that's the way to do it. I like that kind of, it's like I don't have to wait around. I can hang out if I want, but I don't have to wait on anything. And that's the problem with clubs. I work in a comedy club now, and waiting for those two other acts and the hang out in between shows. To me, right now, it feels endless. Those nights feel just endless. I just want to go in, do my thing, and leave. That's it.
What's
I
our
don't want
next
to do a
question? I agree with you.
club with two shows and spend the night there in the green room, sitting there. Um, this next question is, what is the best bit written by you and why? The best bit written by you
Does that
and
mean the
why?
one we like performing
I
the
guess
most?
that, or what's the one that maybe hits the hardest? Or maybe one you doesn't do great, but you think it's well written. Do you have one like that where you go, well, that's pretty good. Like that deserves a little more than it gets, or
I do. I
um,
have I have at least one of those where I'm like, I'm not giving up on it. It's not getting the response I think it should, but I know it's there and I enjoy
yeah.
doing it. I think I spent more time on it. Now go ahead and ask me which one that is because that all
Which
depends.
one is
That
that?
changes every night.
Yeah,
That's a tough
yeah.
question. That's a tough question.
I don't know if I have a. Yeah, I mean, I would think uh, the best bit would be the ones that hit the hardest, and I think those are probably the best if you're gonna. Because what do we do? We're trying to get laughs, so you can have a little thing going. Well, that's pretty good over here, but if it doesn't kill or doesn't do well, what's the point, really?
I have
So
a signature bit. I say signature meaning that I've been doing it forever and I have a bunch of those. But they do the best. They stand the test of time. It's relatable, and I personally enjoy doing it. I do the good, the bad, and the ugly because it's one of my favorite movies of all time,
right.
and I I enjoy it 9 out of 10 times that I perform it. And I know some nights when the audience is hooked into it on that extra level, and
Yeah.
every throwaway, every look,
Right.
expression, they're just eating it up and they're responding and they're laughing and they're
Yeah.
big rounds of applause in between. That's my most orchestrated one that I enjoy performing. My
Hmm.
rendition of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where I replace Clint Eastwood with comedian
Hmm.
Al Ducharme.
Do you, because that's a lengthy bit. Do you ever have nights? Well, I'm sure you have, but where the set itself isn't great, and then you have to start it and go, "Oh my god, I got to go through this whole fucking thing right now." Because that's a bit. Like I have a lot of jokes where I can bail if I don't like it. It's just bail out. It's not a big structured bit, but if I always think of that kind of thing, if you start one of those, you gotta go through the whole thing, right? You can't really just quit.
Well, with
You're
experience, I have abbreviated versions of them. So,
okay,
but
right?
yes, I do remember back in the day when I'm like, oh, I have to go to A to Z and they're not buying this
Yeah.
bit. And I have to stick with it and put the blinders on and go for the finish line.
Ugh.
Again, with experience, then you like,
Yeah.
I'm going to leap ahead. I've actually been in the middle of a bit. This is not long ago. I'm going, I go, hold on a second. I go, you guys aren't buying this bullshit. I go, you know what? I'm not going to put the energy into it.
Right.
And then I just
Yeah.
start
Well,
another
that's
joke. I just start another joke because,
yeah.
it's a little bit of
That's good.
experience and bravado and like it's confidence.
Well, yeah, and definitely experience and just and honesty. Like
Hmm.
let's. I don't want to. Like I remember a guy on Long Island. He would always have this long bit where he used the stool, and he'd lay on the stool, and I think he was surfing or some shit. But when the crowd wasn't great and he wasn't doing well, he still had to do the bit. And I remember he would start it, and I would just be in the back thinking, "Oh my god, you got 5 minutes of this. It's gonna be quiet, and it's gonna be dead quiet in here because and he's laying on the fucking stool like he's surfing, and you go those bits. They can kill, but if they're not working,
It's so funny. The ones that can kill the
you're
most
stuck.
can also bomb the worst.
Yeah, sure. Because jokes you can get in and out. They're
Right.
10 seconds, they're 20 seconds. Who cares? You can just throw one in there. But those pre-written, those bits, like I was just saying, Simeon was like, I'm gonna do it was a vacuum bit, and it's like two or 3 minutes. So it's one of those bits I go, well, I'd love to have it just to eat up time, but it's also just I just physically can't say the words anymore. I mean, I've done it forever. I mean, that thing I did on TV in 90, whatever, 97 or something. So I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, you must like
It's
Simeon
too
to
much.
surrender a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine with me. I just want to see it done. I think it'd be funny to see. It's funny to see someone do one of your bits, how they approach it. I remember that show on HBO, and it was like Chris Rock and Seinfeld and Louis C.K., maybe Ricky Gervais. Remember that?
Yeah.
I forget. They were
Rob,
just talking.
green
And
room thing.
yeah, yeah. And Louis did a Seinfeld joke, an early Seinfeld joke that he remembered. Uh, and Jerry goes, no, it was reversed. Jerry did an early
Right.
Louis joke. That was it. And Louis said, you just made the joke 10 times better just now. He goes, that's better than any time I ever did the joke. So you can hear if someone can do it differently, and maybe Simeon will do it, and I'll be like, wow, that's not bad. Maybe I'll bring it back or something. But at this point, I'm just interested in hearing someone do uh, an old joke of mine, which I don't think I've ever heard.
Well, why don't you send me some clips and I'll try to reinvent you.
All right, we'll do. So what is the best bit you've written? Did
I
we?
just said it. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is my favorite one to
That's
do
the
and
one.
perform. Now, I don't know. Someone else could watch my act and say, "Oh, I like this bit." I have women come up to
Right,
me after my show. We go, "We love that candle bit."
right.
I do this thing about scented candles. So I do that kind of little pandering to get the women pulled in because I'm about to do my Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is mostly for the guys. So
Right.
hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Um, I don't think I have one. I don't know. I don't know really what a favorite is, to be honest, at this point. So they're all. I'd like to have a new one. I'd like to have something new that would become my favorite. That's the problem.
That's been the
Everything
problem with me for the last few years is like I don't have that feeling of that euphoria of like, oh, that bit, I'm working on this bit. It's starting to take hold. I'm getting some good
right.
responses. I know this is going to be big someday. If I just keep
Yeah.
working at it. I haven't had one of those nuggets in a while, and
No.
I miss that.
No.
But that comes out of doing a lot
Yeah.
of open mics and putting
Right.
yourself out there. I think you and I are kind of in the playing it safe zone. We know the shit that works. We've been doing this stuff for decades. It's about a
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah. It's true. Ken, when I was on the podcast with Ken Michaels, he was asking me about that, and I said, and the problem is too is I'm on these ships now, and you have to, you got to kill. You got to go up and kill, and you can't really you could throw in a new line or joke, but you can't do a bit. You can't work out a bit out here. I don't have the time to do it. It's a short set, and I'm following two killers, and you better go up and hammer away. And I don't go to open mic nights. I'm not gonna when I'm home. I
I
just
don't want to
don't
go
do
near a
it.
comedy club anymore when I'm home.
No, I don't either. I don't either, to
Or if
be
I get
honest.
the inkling, I'm like, all right, I'm going to head down there Wednesday night, see what it's all about. And all of a sudden Wednesday afternoon, I'm like, fuck, I don't want
Yeah,
to
no,
go.
no. So
If I
that's
had a
and
new
then
bit, that's the vicious circle. If I had a new bit, I'd be
would you
very
go down?
excited about trying it out. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
not looking to get paid. I'm just want stage time. I want to do a guest set.
right.
I haven't had that since pre-pandemic. Well,
Yeah,
a little bit coming out of the pandemic because I was anxious to get on stage, but it was a different kind of thing. It was about
right,
knocking off the barnacles, clearing away the cobwebs of
right.
my material that was already, true and tried. And I didn't want to do pandemic material. It's like 8,000 comedians were doing pandemic material and they were all
Hmm.
doing the same jokes. So I try to stay away from that.
Yeah, yeah. I just I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I guess when you get older too, I mean, when you're young, look at bands. They write everything. Their first album, their second album. They're 23. And then when they're 53, they're playing the greatest hits. They're not really coming out with a new
No, you two,
holy shit, those songs are
they're in their
unbelievable.
60s, and
It's just
the
greatest
Rolling
hits time.
Stones, whoever, those guys are 80.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
He's a great musician. He's phenomenal
Right.
to be that lucid and whatnot at his age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he was never a guy who I thought, because he always churned it out, and but it would be, I never thought he would become a greatest hits act. But that's what he does. He has a band. They're not the band that he records with. Like, he doesn't make music. It's not like Wings. He has 3 musicians behind him, and he calls them up and goes, "Hey, we're going to South America." And they go, "Okay," and they join him. So it's not it's just a greatest hit show, and he's still doing it. He's going to South America. He's 82. That's great. I mean, Jagger's out there running around
but
at
let's
80.
be honest. Going to South America, first of all, they're on a private luxury.
It's still hard. You're 82.
Full-size jet.
Yeah.
Limousine.
So what?
Masseuse,
still got to do it.
Doctor, chef.
Still got to do it. He could be on St. Bart's with his grandchildren.
And if they called you, if Paul McCartney personally called you, he goes, "We have Mr. McCartney on the other line. One moment, please." And he said, "Yeah, Al." He goes, "I'm going down to South America. I'd like for you to open up the show to about 15, 20 minutes." You'd be like,
"Yeah,
oh, can't do it.
Okay.
I'm on the icon."
Yeah, well, I'd be fucking gone. It would be, I'd be in South America, with Zika. But
and he would say after that you could never do stand-up comedy again. You're like, okay.
Yeah, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
But you can have the private jet and all that, but you still got to do it. And at 82,
no, I agree. I'm just saying he's not
doing
doing John Joseph middle seat on the back of
no, he's not.
Spirit Airlines with his guitar.
No, he's not. But again, I mean, you could be on the beach with your grandchildren or flying there and performing, and the voice is not, it's not great, and you're old, and but that's the thing. I mean, it's keeping these guys alive.
And I think it's important. A lot of them, it's not ego. It's like, I have to do this for people. I am here on this level of fame and fortune.
Yeah.
I got to spend the rest of my life, as long as I can physically, going to these things and putting on these shows, because there's people young and old. They're at that level where it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be a fan.
No. Well, yeah. And that's that kind of music. I mean, he and the Stones, and it's grandparents, holding their grandchildren. And it doesn't matter. Because those songs, you can get into them. Little kids like Start Me Up.
And you can see a teenager with the Rolling Stones T-shirt on, and you're like, "What are you doing?"
Cool.
They go, "Oh, my grandparents," and then my parents would listen, and then I listen, so I know all the words, and I like it.
And it's retro, is cool, and all that stuff comes back. And it's cool logo.
Vinyl is big again,
Right, and the Stones have a cool logo with the tongue and the whole thing. I mean, that's a good shirt, no matter what age. I'm only going to be
and Mick is running around like Peter Pan. At
Incredible.
82 years old.
At 82. There are guys 20 years younger than him sitting in nursing homes waiting for donuts.
Yep.
And staring at the ceiling. And this guy is doing that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not about money. It's
show.
about
I
think it keeps them younger. And then it's about I have to do this.
Yeah.
For the people. Because I'm not going to be able to do it at some point. I'm either going to be unable to.
You think, though? I mean, I don't know.
Because they can go, I'm retired from the business,
And do what? But what do you do?
Saying, I think you age rapidly.
Yeah.
When you stop.
I agree. I don't know, but you got to do something, because the retirement, the idea of retirement sounds great and all, but if you don't have things to do. I mean, we can watch The Price is Right, and Al would. He'd like
a new washer and dryer.
You could go on it. You live in LA. You could retire and be one of those people. If you go to Price is Right every day,
$1,691. The person
I
who,
mean, if you,
who does $1 more than everybody else.
oh, that pain in the ass. Yeah. There's
And
always
they
that
win. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
motherfucker. Sorry.
There was one last week I saw online. The guy picked the showcase. He was in the showcase showdown and he nailed it. He nailed he was $1 off, but not he didn't go above it. It was $1. So he had the like $33,000, 33.95, and the real price was 33.96.
Wow.
So he won within the dollar. So you win both showcases
Oh.
when you're within if you're within $100.
You're
So
kidding.
he won. No, he won like $78,000 worth of shit. Yeah.
Does he take the other showcase away from the other person?
No, the other in that case the person lost. But I think if that happened and she had won, then there's two. They give him both.
Wow.
She gets her showcase and he gets both. But they don't take it away. No. No. Did I tell you this back in whenever we've done a billion of these podcasts that my dad was on Sale of the Century
No,
on NBC?
you never told me.
Yeah, and it was live. This is like 60, I don't know what this is, 66, 67.
Really?
And yeah, so it's live in New York City each day live. They go in, they play Sale of the Century, and they put it on live at 4:00. And but he knew because he was working at the time at the Hilton in New York, and he realized I'm only going to get one day off. They're not going to give me. So he goes, if I win, I can't come back. So because his job wouldn't let him come back. He was a food and beverage manager at the Hilton, and it was big, doing 18-hour days. And so he went on Sale of the Century, and each time you won a small amount of money, you could bank it, or you could buy a prize. And everybody would bank it for a while, and then you go shopping. So, but he won. Like each question, he'd go, whatever it was, the answer. Abraham Lincoln. They go, all right, George, you got $100. He goes, I'll buy something, because he knew he couldn't come back the next day. So he just bought a million prizes. So then he won the ending of it, like the showcase. So we're all at home, and 2 weeks later, trucks are coming down our street, big trucks. It was crazy, and it was like washer and dryer, a dishwasher,
You're
a
kidding.
lifetime supply
you
of
guys
diapers.
Are like rich. You're rich for like a year or two.
We did well for a year. But then he had a lifetime supply of diapers. They were cloth diapers, and
so
he
you're
put
wearing
it
them
on.
now, right? Because you inherited.
Yeah,
that?
I am. Hell, goddamn right, I am. He put it. He put the ad in the paper and sold them. Because like a
He's
classified lifetime.
Smart guy.
So he. But the host, because I never saw it. I was a kid. I was way too young, and it never reran. They never taped it. It just was live.
Those shows?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. There's nothing. You can Google Sale of the Century. It was Joe Garagiola was the host, and but he knew it's like I can't come back, so I'm just going to buy everything if I win. And the host Joe kept saying to my father, "What are you doing? Like, why don't you back some of this? You're doing well. You could be back." And he's like, "I can't come back. This is it for me." So he just bought. I remember they went to the Virgin Island. They won trips.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was wild. But I never got to see it, and there's no
Evidence
copy of it. Yeah, there's nothing.
No, because
there's nothing.
I Love Lucy, they put a film camera in front of the TV because those shows were not recorded. And if it wasn't for the film camera, I don't know, what millimeter was that? Was it 16?
Was that kinescope?
Kinescope, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that work?
Kinescope.
But they put it in front of a monitor, kinescope. So it was a film camera pointed at a screen. Filming.
Right.
That's why when you watch it, sometimes you see like a little fishbowl shape a little bit.
Right.
And it's a little crude.
Well, Desi Arnaz was the first one to residuals and running things back. He was the first to really go, we got to put this on film and keep it, and we can make money off this again. But they were burning shit. They would have performances
like, throw it
by
out.
great bands, or they would just record over it.
But he's the one who said, no, keep these, and he put them in a temperature controlled safe kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, you want it? Go ahead, take it. And that's when he really
created reruns. Yeah, that's how
syndication.
they made. And right, and I Love Lucy was seen, so it would air 26 weeks, but then it would air
In the
all summer,
afternoon. It would air, it
and
would
people were
air in
like,
the
"Oh,
afternoon. It would air in the evening. And
hell,
so all these different people that
still
work
airing."
different shifts or shifts
Yeah,
were able to
yeah,
become fans. So it pulled in a much bigger
right.
audience, and the ad money came in and made him and Lucy a ton
Yeah,
of money.
but
And
there's
Hulu
like
Productions.
Elvis was like on the Steve Allen show before he was on Ed Sullivan, and
Wow.
there's a kinescope of that. But it's very, but all
Cruise.
these things they didn't think that way. They just
Right.
threw it out or filmed over it. Didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing mattered really in those days. The way it does now. So,
Mm.
all right, let's see what else we got. We got another question. This is a big question episode.
Ooh, making up for the last
This is
episode.
yeah. How is the life and art form difficult and its drawbacks? How's the life? I guess how is a comedian being in a comic? How's the life of a comic and the art form difficult and its drawbacks? Well,
Well, everything has its
you got to write
drawbacks.
material
Yeah.
and travel and miss things, and it's difficult. Those are difficult things to come up with an act.
But you
and
can
perform
describe
it.
that same description could be joyful as well. Well, you got to
Oh, 100. Yeah.
perform.
No,
You get paid pretty decent for what we're doing. You have to
Mhm.
travel. A lot of people want to travel and can't afford to
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
And I think most people at their
instead of paying for a cruise, we get paid for the cruise. But it is a job. So
Yeah.
the only time that I really can enjoy a cruise is when I bring a guest, whether it's my wife, my sister, my niece. Those are the only times I
lover.
feel like, oh, this is like a vacation. But that's
Mhm.
only a couple of times a year. The rest of the
Mhm.
time, it's a job. And you can
Sure.
witness families and everybody, all the passengers enjoying their once in a lifetime or once every year or 5 years or 10 years, whatever it is, cruise. And you can see them just walking around wide eyed. And I'm a little bit detached from that. I witness it, but I'm detached. And so
Oh
it's,
yeah.
and we're kind of like, we're loners. We do it solo. And even Al with his buddies there that he's with two other comedians, they occasionally hang out, but it's not like a daily
Yeah.
thing. You
No,
don't want to hate somebody,
you
you want to
couldn't.
like them.
You couldn't. Yeah, 2 weeks a month hanging out like that all the time. You get on nerves. So we just keep it different. But that's comedy no matter where you work.
Mhm.
I mean, you're gonna miss things. If someone's gonna have a wedding or a baby's born, and you're not gonna be there, you're gonna miss it. At least now we can kind of plan things a little bit. If I have something coming up, I'll be like, oh, I need that day off, that week off, whatever. Make the plans. But when you're starting in it, I mean, I worked. We've all worked, during Christmas, New
Mhm.
Year's,
Thanksgiving.
birthday, whatever. Thanksgiving. I mean, I was at Thanksgiving in Atlantic City eating, with it was pretty good though. Actually, it was with Consoli. We were at Bobby Flay's for
That's a little
Thanksgiving.
different.
It was actually pretty
Yeah, all
good.
right. That wasn't a
I'm
bad
saying
one.
it like
But
it was bad.
I've
That was
had
a good one.
those, but I've also had the solo one where it's me and a magician who I don't know
Oh,
well. And all
ooh,
of a sudden we're having Thanksgiving dinner in a buffet
oh,
on the ship. And it was a little depressing.
ooh,
But
little
there have been
pressed
other times
turkey.
where I was with family and we
Yeah,
had Thanksgiving on a cruise ship, and it was kind of nice. We're in the dining room and waiters and
yeah,
wait staff, and
yeah.
that was
Well, they
fun.
say don't cruise on Thanksgiving because it's the ship's full of people that their family didn't want. So it's sort of it's those people, but but yeah, it depends who you are in this too. Like when I got separated and was getting divorced, I booked myself at Christmas
Mm-hmm.
on a cruise. I was like, I don't give a shit, and I was in Cozumel on Christmas Eve,
Cousin Mel.
cousin Mel, and I had a cigar and margarita and a burrito, and I took a picture of it and I posted it. It was Christmas Eve, and everybody wrote like, "Oh my God, so sad," and
And you're
blah blah blah.
like,
I was like, "This is pretty
this is
good.
kind of what I want exactly at this time of year, at this very moment,
This isn't bad.
under the
This isn't
circumstances.
bad.
This is actually great."
It's not
The
bad.
way
I
you
can't
described it,
complain.
I'm like, oh yeah.
a cigar, a margarita, and in that bar you could smoke a cigar because I just mentioned it to the guy, and he goes, "Yeah." I go, "I can smoke in here right now." He goes, "Yeah." I had a big cigar and a margarita and a burrito, and it's Christmas Eve, and but everybody, the comments were like, "Oh my God, don't worry, it's gonna be better." Oh, so sad. And I'm like, it's not bad. I don't know what you guys are missing here. It may not be your image of Christmas Eve, but I don't know.
You had all that stress that you left behind. So
yeah, a lot of stress.
yeah, so that was
Yeah, it was good. It was good, but you put me with a margarita and a cigar anywhere at any time, I'm pretty good. I don't really, that's kind of.
I'm very impressionable and suggestible, so I'm going to do that today. I'm in
Oh,
Costa Maya,
oh, okay.
so
Oh,
I'm
Costa
probably
Maya, yeah.
Costa or
There's
Costa. What is
there's
it?
a
How do
little
you pronounce
cigar
it?
shop. Have you been to that one in that village there when you walk down the long pier?
I hate that village.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone does.
I like the Mexican resorts that are a couple of miles away, but you have to go through the village, get a
Right.
taxi, and the taxis are twice 100% more than they used to be.
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
all
annoying
like
it, and they've made it difficult to even get out of there, out of the
now, you
village.
used to
You're
be able to
walking
walk
around.
straight out or go to the
Yeah.
village, and then they said none of that. You have to go
Right.
through a gauntlet of t-shirt shops and bars
Yeah.
and tiki things,
It's.
but it's all Americanized. It's all
Oh sure.
cruise line, and the prices are not. They're a little less than the
Yeah.
U.S., but they're right up there. And then if you go to the Mexican village,
Yeah.
everything's half price. $2
Right. Right.
beers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But it
massage.
sucks. But the beach
$20
is
massage for
terrible.
an hour.
The beach is all. Well, Kelly and I went there, and we told the story, but we lasted 10 minutes. We got
It's a
back in the
little.
camp and went back to the ship. It
Which
was
beach? The
broken.
village, the local beach, or the
The one, yeah, the one we all go to because we got through the village. Then we got in the cab, and about 5 or
yeah.
10 minutes
It's a
cab
little run
ride.
down there right now, and
It
I
was
think a lot of
bad.
it has to do with this cruise port. To be honest with you, I know the cruise
Yeah,
port is my bread and butter, but I think that this cruise port made those areas less desirable because there's less traffic and there's no upkeep.
yeah, it was bad. There was no upkeep, that's for sure. We
Yeah.
were there, and then we got to get out of here. It didn't
So
feel
I stay
safe
on the
either.
ship now. I stay on
Okay,
the ship
but
and of this port.
the cigar shop in the Costamayan little village there, the guys, it's so very expensive. It's overpriced. It's ridiculous. But sometimes he has a box or two on the lower shelf, and it'll be hand rolled Dominicans, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. What do we got there? Let me see.
I got the Drew Estate Undercrown,
Uh-huh.
and then I
Okay.
have one of the good standbys is just a standby. You know it.
Oliva.
Oliva.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oliva. Uh-huh.
And then I have a couple of nubs.
Oh, okay.
I like the nubs because sometimes I don't want to sit for an hour and a half, 2 hours and smoke a cigar. So I do the
No.
nubs in about 35 minutes.
Yeah. I like a nub when I walk my dog. It's like
Yeah.
that when the nub's gone.
perfect.
We're good. We did the walk. But when I sit down, I like a little stick, little time. But yeah, margarita and a stick. Yeah, sounds pretty good to me too.
Or
But
an
I don't
old
drink on
fashioned.
ships. But yeah. Oh well, now we're talking here. Sticking an old fash. Come on.
Oh, can
I'll
I
be doing
ask
that.
you a question? I think
Yeah.
we answered all our questions, right? Did we
Yeah.
answer the questions? Yeah.
How's the
Kinda.
life
Yeah.
and art form difficult? I mean, it's hard to write material, so that's and the drawbacks. There are some, but there's a lot of positives too. But yeah, missing things, travel.
Well, I spent a
there could be
week
drawbacks.
with my wife on a cruise, and now I'm on a cruise alone for a week, and then
You couldn't be happier right now.
and then I'm meeting her in Bayonne, and we'll spend another
Oh.
week together.
Oh, look at you guys.
Ah,
Killing it now. Oh, they're the power
ah.
couple out here. Wow. Interesting.
She
All
was
right.
added. She was added.
She was at what ship is that?
Symphony.
Symphony's out of Bayonne, huh? Wow.
They just repositioned it this week.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Excellent.
And it's so funny. It was in the Caribbean. They repositioned it, and it's still going to the Caribbean, but it's picking up these
Right.
people from the Northeast.
Okay. So are you going home before that, or
Yeah, for 4
did you
days.
say 4 days? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll be home Saturday, and then my niece Olivia is coming to town Sunday, and she'll be in town till Thursday, and then I leave Friday for Barcelona. So yeah,
you should be taking Kelly with you on that.
I should be. I wanted to.
Well, she's starting a new gig, right?
Yeah, she's got the new gig starting soon, and she's trying to get in the old gig, the one that was hijacked. Looks like that's okay. They're coming back, so she's been trying to sign on with that, but at this point, as of recording, still can't sign on. Still nothing happening there. So yeah, it's been
full pay.
Probably 5 weeks.
Full pay.
Full pay. 5 weeks. Getting paid. Stay home. Kick back. It's not bad. And in the meantime, she got a new job.
That question should be asked. We should have asked her about the her gig being paid and being home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm saying.
We should have asked her.
Yeah.
She'll never be a guest. I go, would you ever have any interest of coming? She's like, no.
I've seen her hand at least on 2 episodes, 3 episodes.
She's handed a few cocktails to me, yeah.
Just comes in. It comes in like this. He's like, oh, surprised. Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna find a new room to pod when I'm home, because I do it in that it's a sunroom, but right now in Clearwater it's about 95 degrees, and that sunroom's gonna be a little difficult to sit and chat in.
Can you do one of those personal coolers where you put ice in it? Yeah, it lasts for about a half hour.
What do you mean?
It's like $50. It's like a little what do they call it?
Like a fan?
Yeah, swamp cooler. What is it?
Like a fan, you mean?
Yeah, you put ice and cold water in it. It's a fan.
Oh, I see.
And as it's melting, it blows cool water on you. Cool.
Maybe I'll try that.
On you.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that.
Look into it. But it's got to be close to you.
Oh, was it noisy? Will it make a disruptive sound into
These mics are pretty good at blocking out the background noise.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good.
It just might be a hum.
All right. A humdinger. That's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
You have to experiment. We're at 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Peace.
So long, man. Have a good trip.
You.
Iceberg, dead ahead. Don't forget to review us and rate us. It really helps.
The Talking Dicks became friends at a very young age, and the rest is history.
I'm losing my mind.
Patreon.com/The2Dicks, which is named after our web series. This is the 2 Owls, 1 Pod podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
What?
Done.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
We'll fix it in post, you son of a bitch.
Okay, sure.
All right. Subscribe. Mary. This was a horrible mistake.
Go to patreon.com/forward2dicks.
If you shoot me, you won't see a cent of that money. Why?
I think it ends on that. That's beautiful.